World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday night. It's USF 2000 action here as you're rejoined once again by Alex Goldschmidt, with Alex Goldschmidt and Chris Buxton. Good evening, Mr. Buxton. How are we this fine Wednesday evening?
Very well indeed. Stoked up and ready as always for some amazing racing here at World Pro Racing. This time we are at a circuit that is one of the classics. As classic as Cadillac for America, it is Watkins Glen. And what a circuit this is going to be. Get a bit of a different feel to what we've had previously. This one's all going to be, it's going to be about slipstreaming, pressure application, and of course pressure management. So yeah, a very different challenge to what we've had before.
Yes, and it also marks the penultimate round of the season because next week we head to our season finale at Alton Park in Cheshire on the 14th of April. Firstly, a big thank you to you all for tuning in. If you're watching on Malta's TVM Sport channel, motorsport.tv, or our good friends at Esports Television, and also if you're watching on our relevant World Pro Racing feeds, Twitch, Facebook, and of course YouTube, thank you for joining us. As always, we can't not thank our partners enough, as always. Gaming Malta, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX, where we're all gamers, and of course, AMD. Now, this circuit, established back in 1956, is pretty much a permanent road course. It's just off the Seneca Lake. But Chris, it's a very, very tough challenge. There's very much camber orientations, undulations, also the fearsome inner loop where just before we went on air, we were seeing a few cars going through at nearly 145 miles an hour before whacking the curbs. And as they say, bang, and the curbs are gone.
Yeah, they were going in sideways as well. There's a lot of four-wheel drifting going on into the inner loop. But here you can really see you at the bottom of the S's. Look at the undulation and that very sudden, steep elevation change upwards. You don't really feel that elevation change so much coming down the way, as it's a very gentle downward slope coming back down to the lower levels. But you're coming up to the the inner loop. There it is. They're chucking the car in and getting the slide under control before coming back out again the other side. So no real big braking zones. Turn one is the biggest braking zone it gets. So this is going to be a track where the drivers really need to hustle and apply the pressure as best they can.
So into this round, David Kalasai from Mugen Sim Racing. If he gets another victory and another 10 points or so, he has secured the title with one round remaining. He's currently on 112 points ahead of Dean Vella from GT Omega RPM Esports, who's on 51. Jorn Dix from Team Schmoking rounds out the top three on 37. Hans Hannes on 34. Kian Butler, who has decided to withdraw due to university commitments, rounds out the top five, equal with Rui Silva Vieira from Atlantic Motorsports. And you can just see how fully committed these drivers are. 15-minute practice session, 15-minute qualification session, and then a 30-minute sprint race. And you can just look at, going through the inner loop, Dean Vella was on absolute fire, completely sideways through the first part of it. And that's just a sign of things to come. But also, as we saw last time out at Portimao, Hans Hannes in the 91 is again showing a real good turn of pace in that lovely Braun GP 001 or Team Rocket RJN, whichever your preference is, tribute livery on that USF 2000 as he now enters into the pits. A 1 minute 12.704. Ruiz Silva Vieira in the Atlantic Motorsport number 27 coming out of the final corner. Let's ride on board with him. Chris, take us through on a hot lap here at Watkins Glen.
Gladly so, as we've come over the line then, foot very much planted to the floor. Here's the heaviest braking zone you've got into the circuit. Got to get the car turned in right. It is cambered, but it's bumpy as you like. So now through turn 2 into the S's and that very sudden steep rise and then up over the crest and makes that apex very, very blind. Then onto the back straight now. So this is one of the greatest slipstreaming opportunities that our drivers are going to have. And Ruiz Silva Vieira all the way over to the left-hand side. Pick your braking point. A little touch of the brakes, and you can just see how he's wrestling that car around. trying to get the slide into the middle of the inner loop to rotate the car enough, but not scrub off the speed. Round now the outer loop into the cut through. You can see to the left where that cone area is, where the boot would be, but we're not using that version of the circuit. Then there's a run down towards the penultimate corner. This is a very tricky corner to get right. It approaches you very, very hard. Big runner very to the right, but that corner on the curb on the outside unsettles these cars. They're very, very low slung. The curb on the outside of the final turn is fairly flat, so they will ride that one to a point and over the line. Is it an improvement? Not that time, but that is a lap of Watkins Glen.
And that's on the short course with the inner loop. And effectively, that's going to be a real telling point because, as Chris said earlier, slipstreaming and putting the pressure on is going to be the biggest bone of contention and the biggest strategy the drivers will play on tonight. There are some post-race penalties from the previous round at Portimao. Steve Johnson will get will be serving his 2-place grid penalty for an unsafe rejoin in round 3. And then also the number 21, that's Darrell Russell. He's currently 10th in this session at the minute. He will get a 3 grid penalty for the next race. So wherever they end up in qualification, they will drop a little bit further down the order. But also, as we have seen, David Kalasai is still not out yet. Well, he's out on the circuit as Itmar Yativ goes purple in Sector 1 by over a tenth as he now comes through to... he whacks the wall on the left-hand side coming through the 90 right. Oh, he still kept the throttle planted, though. He could have been so close. That cost him, I think... I mean, look, it cost him about 6 tenths. As David Kalasai, Mr. Mugen Sim Racing, well, he is Mr. USF 2000 here on World Pro Racing. He has been rather dominant. And looking at his previous results here, Chris, the last 2 races, he got 10 points for pole position, 5 for leading the maximum amount of laps, well, pretty much the last two or three races. He's been running at the front of the field from lights out to checkered flag. 18 points for finishing in first position. A point for starting the race, and then 5 for fastest lap. But there's been no show of consistency. Obviously, we saw the massive accident that nearly took him out of the race victory at Portimao last time out. That could have been rather one for... that was a big talking point for us here, wasn't
it? Just a tad. If there was one more lap on the board, he would not have been able to secure the victory, I dare say. But David Kalasai then slots into 6th position at the moment, half a second off of the new pole times set by Hans Hannes, 1:12.565. Now, I'm not placing any bets. Every week I've fallen for the same trap and said, maybe David Kalasai won't run off with it. No, it's exactly what he's done. He's turned up at qualifying, nailed it, and disappeared off into the sunset. So, no, I'm not placing any bets anywhere. Although it has to be said that Itmar Yativ really kind of showed up and got on with it last week at Portimao. We didn't see him in race 2. He had problems in race 1, and just really, so you could argue he's a bit, unfooted. Didn't show any sign of it. Has really gone on with it. Was looking at one point to be, the main challenger to the throne of the Kalasai, but at the moment is just 1/10 off of Hans Hannes. David Kalasai, I think he's holding back still. I'm not convinced this is his real pace at the moment. Still sees him in 6th position at the Mo. But, we will see. Again, we may see, Watkins, Glen expert amongst our pack. So we look at Team Schmokin's Andy Birch. Oops, he's been... That's one of the Lagardes, isn't it? That's one of the, fluorescent cards.
Yeah. Well, funny you should mention that. If I could ask our broadcast director to bring me on picture-in-picture, I've got a very good reason. Obviously we talked about highlighters.
Yes.
One, that's Casey. And now we've got Vance as well.
Yeah.
So
I had to
throw that in there. I had to throw that in. Yeah. So yeah, it's but Vance is ahead of Casey, but not by much, by less than a tenth. So, but thank you, Mr. Broadcaster. I can please obscure my face and put it back into people's views. They want to see what's going on out on the track. But Casey Lagarde out on a hot lap, currently ninth at the moment, and he is currently, well, he actually scored some points last time out. Just having a check. Yep. Finished P8 last time out at Portimao. Here's Hans Hannes. He's currently, he was second in the race last time. And, he's up in Sector 2. Let's see. That's a 1 minute 12.6. Just less than half a tenth off of his previous time here in free practice.
And Danny Birch is still nailed to the back of Vance Lagarde there. Yeah, Junior really had a lot of work to do against his old man last week. For those unfamiliar with the phrase, old man simply means father. And there you go. There's a perfect display. Oh, wow, that's Vance getting rather punchy with the defence there. But there's a great display of the slipstreaming effect going on. That's exactly what they're going to need to utilise to really make any headway anywhere. They'll want to be catching someone coming up the hill through the S's, which will unsettle the car at a place they really wanted to be settled down. And Vance is letting go now. So they'll want to be gaining that momentum up the hill to then deploy it down that back straight. It's going to be one of the best opportunities to try and make an overtake. But of course, if you lose the slipstream, well recovered back to pit, whoever that was, the spun of the background. If they lose that slipstream, they're going to lose quite a lot of time. It kind of has a bit of a... Well, there's lovely team, the GT Omega RPM pair are doing a great job of utilizing that slipstream to its maximum. I wonder if we'll see that in qualifying, because you can gain quite a substantial amount of time if you get it right.
Reminds me of the old Schumacher and Barrichello days in Ferrari, 2004 to 2005. They were very, very adept, and obviously the F2004, one of the if not one of the most successful cars of all time in Formula One's pantheon of history, but obviously a generation behind what we have now. Dietmar Yativ sets the personal best in Sector 1, and I'm sure that he will have the favour return the favour to Dean Vella, as that's very, very straight line there through the inner loop and through the outer loop. You can just see now down the dip. Now, obviously the camber here is something that can really unsettle the cars, because if you go in and you go in a bit too hot on one of the apexes here, Chris, what you can do is, even if you touch the grass, that could literally be a right rear wheel putting you into harm's way, and especially when there's a barrier right close and personal.
And these being single-seaters, they don't take damage very well. They don't really take damage at all, frankly. But, if you hit something or brush something, as sadly the sectors 2 and 3 did not go Idmar's way, I think he's backing off to try and give Dean Vella, his teammate, the slipstream in return. Although they're probably practicing this for I hope they're practicing this for the quali run. So that would be nice to see if that is indeed the case. Or indeed just for a race practice, they're going to try and utilize it for the race itself. But there you go. You've just seen the effect of it. That's a purple for Dean Vella in Sector 1, and that's a little scrappy way of getting out of the way.
That was one good slipstream does not deserve another. So literally, I mean, we saw Itmar Yativ hit the wall on the inside going into the inner loop, and then Dean Vella just decides, hold my beer, and spins it around because he's literally overcommitted through the first part of it. But that's how finite the tolerances are here. Because with these USF 2000 cars, the suspension travel is minimal at best. It's basically like putting bodywork on a car, putting some mitigated slicks and wings on here, and then you go racing. Very different to say an FIA Formula 3 or a Formula 2 car of modern day. There's a lot. It's a very different animal. Whereas this, it's a bit like the old Formula Ford days. When it used to be no slicks. It used to be slicks and no wings. You had the likes of Tiff Needell, Mark Webber, Jenson Button, James Courtney, amongst others competing in that. I mean, Scott Morvan, who was in the My Girl chassis a couple of years ago before he moved into British GT. I remember he won the championship, the UK Formula Ford Championship, on a year-old chassis. And everyone wondered how the hell he did it. Well, he knew what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no trickery with those types of cars. another comparable is the tyres. If we're continuing to look at Hans Hannes, who's just been beaten down to second by Luis Silva Valletta. The tyres are not very big. They're not tiny, but there you're seeing a wonderful slide there through that inner loop from Hans Hannes, and that's how you need to drive these cars. The downforce is, well, it's there. It's enough to keep the car from just launching itself off into space, but it's not. It's not Formula One levels of downforce that will stick you to the roof of a tunnel. It's there just to keep the car a little bit more stable. So in those medium speed corners, and to a lesser point here in that final turn, oh wow, Hansi was so close to the barriers. He's purple sector 2. It's his final time, 12.642. And look at that, even though he's yellow in sector 3, only just by quarter of a tenth there. That's brilliant stuff. But yeah, the tolerances are very, very fine. The tyres are very narrow. So these cars are challenging to drive at the very limit. So, as you see, Luis Silva Valletta actually sliding into turn 1, and that corner's banked. So that's how much he's really having to chuck this around to get the best out of it. But that's exactly what we're on about. That's what you must do to get the best out of these cars, which... he's a very different discipline. It's not a high downforce type of car. It's not a big muscle car that can make up time in long, big straights. No such luck. It's a car that needs a lot of manhandling.
Yeah, very true. Well, the car of Casey Lagarde nearly manhandled him going through the final corner.
Very much
like
so.
Literally right behind Hans Hannes. I mean, straight away, snap on oversteer. And the back end stepped out to the left-hand side. Check it out for the session. But Luis Silva Valletta here, Chris. I'm in complete agreement with what you said earlier when we went live about not making any predictions. I think this is going to be a different test. There's going to be drivers that will have practiced this circuit. When I say practice, they've been on the server multiple times. They've gotten the balance of the car right, how it works to their particular driving style. You said about manhandling. And that's exactly what Luis Silva Valletta has done here. And David Kalasai, 6.5 tenths off. I think qualifying is going to be an interesting showcase this evening.
Yeah, David Kalasai is still the odds-on favourite. You'd be a fool not to assume that he's in line for the pole. But here's another thing to bear in mind: is that Watkins Glen is more of a famous track than some others we've seen. Obviously, we had Adrio to start with. That's not a track that sees a lot of racing series go to it. So that's one that's not going to be kind of in your DNA as a racing driver. Watkins Glen, however, is you say it's a track that dates back to the 50s. It still sees the likes of NASCAR racing, trucks. I think bikes race there. Formula One back in its day has been to Watkins Glen. So it's had pretty much anything with an engine go there. It's one of these tracks that people know it. You say the name and you know it instantly. Unlike the likes of, Portimao as an example, that obviously gained a lot more fame last year because F1 had revisited the circuit. It's a wonderful track. I love it dearly, but it's a circuit that doesn't necessarily get a lot of attention from other racing series. So again, I think the people are going to be more familiar with Watkins Glen than some of the tracks we've seen previously. So I do think, whilst Kalasai is still the favourite for the throne, I think we may see some others rise to prominence tonight.
Yeah, very much the case there, Chris. Qualifying now underway for round 4 out of 5, the penultimate round here at Watkins Glen, the short course with the inner loop, just over 2.4 miles, as Hans Hannes is the first one to start leading them on the field as we go on board with the number 91. And you can absolutely hear that 2-litre 170 brake horsepower inline 4 Mazda engine literally just roar its way around the circuit. We're now heading down the back straightaway, and we're going to see how committed he is. Oh, look, just the amount of correction. Amount of correction there going into the first part of the inner loop. That was fully committed from Hans Hannes. You can see the amount of steering correction coming through the outer loop. And now he's got the long run down. He'll be pushing over 140 plus miles an hour before we go into the left-hander. So you can hear, oh look, he's like nigh on Tokyo, drifting it through that left-hander and into the right through the final corner. And he's possibly going to tag with the wall. Oh, that's not going to happen, and Hans Hannes instantly goes to the pits. Oh, that was committed in the half there, Mr. Buxton, wasn't it? And then it all went wrong.
Yes, it was indeed somewhat. It was interesting that the tail of Hans Hannes' car really snapped on the way into the loop. He'd want that snap behaviour in the middle to help rotate him back out of the inner loop. So, yeah, there may be some tweaks going on there that to try and settle that car down. But as soon as I saw his line into that final turn, I knew he had no hope in hell of turning that car. He wasn't too far off, but you're at full crank at that point. And yeah, again, the tolerance is so fine that he hit the wall very, very hard. So he'd have known that as well. As soon as he committed, you as a racing driver know full well whether you're going to make it through. It's like, you know, playing snooker or golf in the sense that as soon as you've committed to a shot, as soon as you've committed to a move, you instinctively know whether the wall's going to greet you or whether actually the move's going to happen as you planned it to. As we see the Kalasai, he's not purple sector 1, but even still, 12.3, so that's quicker, I think, than we saw in practice. Oh, that was close, Mr. Kalasai. Now, you see he's very wide on the first part of that long right-hander on the outer loop. That could be out of choice, but I think his line out of the inner loop was a little bit compromised. He straight-lined a bit too much. So his route through the outer loop, maybe, yeah, there you go. So he's lost a couple of tenths in that middle sector. Oh, and that's wide as well, coming through the penultimate turn. Let's see how he deals with the final one. As Idmar Yativ now goes to the top of the board with a 12.3. What does David Kalasai? And that's a 12.7. As a purple sector 3, interestingly, even though he was quite wide on that penultimate turn, he still managed to get the best by 9,000ths of a second in that third sector. As we see someone coming out of the pits right by David Kalasai there.
Yeah, I think that was, I saw Rui Silva Vieira coming out of the pit lane, and he took to the grass a little bit coming out of the pit lane itself. So Itmar Yativ, it was originally Rui Silva Vieira with the 1 minute 12.375 leading in qualifying, but Itmar Yativ and Dean Vella, it's now the Rui Silva Vieira was Casey Lagarde exiting stage left, going through the 90. Not what you want to do here at Watkins Glen. But Rui Silva Vieira is the Atlantic Motorsport meat and a GT Omega RPM Esports sandwich, because the two slices of bread are Itmar Yativ on provisional pole and Dean Vella just behind him in third place. Top 3 covered by just a quarter of a second. Then it is Mr. Buxton has now started to call him the Kalasai, or so I'll call him a more than just lesser spotted Kalasai. Yon rounds out the top 6 as Hans Hannes goes P5. There's Darrell Russell in the number 21. He will have a grid penalty post-qualifying. He's currently rounding out the top 11. And at the moment, Steve Johnson, who also gets a grid penalty. Johnson with a 2-place grid penalty and Russell with a 3-place grid penalty post-race 3 last week at Portimao. We'll have to try and do the level best, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be about what they can do in the race. And we all know it's not about where you start, it is always about where you finish it, isn't it, Chris? Indeed, it is. Just watching Darrell's lap, they looked like he was struggling to get the car to slide. It's very... It's very sticky. It's not actually behaving itself at all. So Darrell's been bouncing off of the curbs, and that in itself is unsettling the car. As Casey Lagarde Jr. is going to be trying to get a bit of a slipstream off of Darrell Russell. Is Darrell going to... Well, it doesn't look like Darrell wants to play ball. Casey's gone for it anyway, but... Oh, don't race each other into... Yeah, there you go. That's not surprising. That's gone wrong for the number 3 car. Yeah, Casey's just going to have to kind of back off and try again, or try and muscle his way past Darrell Russell. As we've been talking about that, David Kalasai now in the 4th position, just 4.5 tenths behind the top spot. There we go. Casey the car's going to try and get past Darrell Russell. Can't expect some of what we're seeing here actually in the race, where people that seem to have the pace don't have the opportunity to try and utilize the extra pace they've got. It looks like Casey the car's going to come into the pits. Andy Birch has just jumped up into 4th position, but my goodness, look at that 7th, 8th, and 9th in the same 10th of a second as well.
That's wow. I think it's been a while since we've had it this close. As in my Yativ, purple in sector 2, he's a bit down in sector 1. So it is indeed not but it's not far off. But yeah, it's all the time he lost in that first sector. But he's really pressing, and he means business.
Very much the case. As well, I did make the old Star Wars reference regarding Vance and Casey Lagarde last time, didn't I? It was Master and Padawan.
Indeed.
But yeah, that's one of the Team Smoking cars that's just gone off at the inner loop. Ruiz Silva Vallera now looking to come back and set another hot lap, as we've got 6 minutes and 53 seconds on the clock still to go here at Watkins Glen for the penultimate round of the USF 2000 series. Don't forget to follow us at our website, worldproracing.com. We've got the upcoming German Fest this coming Friday, which will be the BMW M6 GT3 at the Nürburgring. And then following on from that, the very next night, the 226 kilometers of the Nürburgring, where there is just one slot available. And I've seen a whole list of names: Luke Whitehead, Sheldon Muscat, Rainer Hesse, Vishal Patel, Tom Ottey, Samir Foch coming through as well. And then we head to the final round of the USF 2000 series. So it would be goodbye from me and Chris for Wednesday nights after that one. Alton Park next week. Then we've got the GT4 at Spa-Francorchamps casual race. Plenty of slots available for that. Close to 25 plus. And that will be next Friday, which will be the 16th of April. And then just 8 days later, we have the French Special, and it's an invite-only event specifically for French drivers only, and it will host real drivers, elite drivers, and streamers known within the French sim racing community, and it will be a 2-hour race with the GT3 cars at the Nürburgring.
What a fantastic lineup we've got here at Pro Racing coming up. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a shame that this series is coming to an end. But all good things and also all that. But yeah, Alton Park next week is going to be an equally fascinating race. Such a narrow, twisty circuit. I mean, at least Watkins Glen is very wide. As someone in the background kicks up a bit of dust as we continue to watch second place Ruiz Silva Vallera. Again, the slide just not quite working for the Atlantic Motorsport number 27 in the middle of the inner loop. We're pressing on nonetheless. He's a tenth and a bit down on Idmar Yatif. Dean Veller currently sits in third, Andy Birch fourth, David Canasai still in fifth place. As we are in the final 5 minutes of the quali session, he's made up a bit of time. Personal best sector 2. Ruiz Silva Vallera, can he make it count in the final sector? Again, the car just not quite behaving itself in that final turn. Is it enough? It is. That's what was a personal best, but not quite pole time. An improvement in time, but not position for Idmar Yatif. For Ruiz Silva Vallera. But wow, getting ever closer as we now look at Casey Lagarde. A really good first sector. He's lost a bit of time in sector 2. Currently sits in 9th, 6.5 tenths down from the top spots. Where's this one gonna go? Using every bit of track on the exit of the final turn. Where's this going to land him? That's a 12. Oh, a 12.8. Very nicely done. Puts him up in position into 7th.
Yeah, and top 7 covered by exactly half a second. Nicolas Vallera, who we saw battling away tooth and nail last time out at Portimao, down in 9th position, 0.642 of a second. A drift off of provisional pole, still being held by Idmar Yatif with just over 3.5 minutes remaining. Nicolas Vallera up in sector 1. It's a personal best for the number 18. But David Canasai is to within 6/1000ths off of Andy Birch. So Nicolas Vallera in the number 18 comes out of the final corner and across the line. What's the time for this driver? A 1 minute 13.219. He remains in 9th position, but there is something foreboding in the air, Chris Buxton. I smell that a potential pole position might not be on the cards for a particular driver this evening.
No, you've said it now. And that seems to be the red rag that David Canasai needs, as he's very wide on the outer loop there. Well, this lap was pretty much binned anyways. He was 2 tenths down in the first sector. Is he going to do a practice start? No, he's returned to the pits. Now he has got time to come back out again if he gets on with it. He just has to hope that he doesn't pick up any traffic. You may well have made the prophecy come true. We will see in the remaining 2.5 minutes. As we see Ismail Yatif once again at 12.305. He's nearly 2/10 down on that time in Sector 1. He doesn't necessarily. He doesn't need to push. I mean, you never know who's got that extra tenth. You never know who's got that extra bit of time to find. You can never give up pushing until the checkered flag falls. He's got some traffic ahead of him, but not too close. That'll make too much of a difference. Oh, purple Sector 2 though. He's gained most of the time he's lost in Sector 1. It could be an improvement. Oops, as that's someone off the road in the penultimate turn. What can he do? Oh, that's going to be bad news for Yatif. Potentially. Oh, that's close, but it may get away with it. A tiny bit of slipstream indeed down the start finish straight. Is it an improvement? It is. It's not by much, but it's half a tenth improvement. That's a 12.258. That is Yatif's day done. He can do no more. And that, well, it was an already impressive pole time. He's gone and bettered it as we look at second place, Rui Silva Valletta. Oh, that's ironic. He got a slipstream off of his currently main rival. that's cheeky if ever I saw it.
Well, it definitely worked, didn't it? But there, Rui Silva Valletta goes up into... he goes purple in Sector 1 through into the inner loop as he absolutely banzais his way over the curbs. As that was one of the team smoking cars, definitely smoking from the power plant there, having spun it and going through. But let's keep our eyes on Rui Silva Valletta. Kalasai all the way down in 7th position. Rui Silva Valletta, he's about to come through the second intermediate and he's down on lap time. So I think probably going over the curves a bit too Banzai-esque there might have cost him.
I would imagine he was put off by the team smoking car. Jorn Dix, great improvement there, up to 4th position. He can do no more. Just 3/10 off the top spot. That's very nice indeed. And he's got enough time for another lap. There's Luis Silva Valletta. Hopefully he's got the tyres and the fuel for it. We will see as he comes through turn 1. That's very, very deep. You can wander onto that bit as long as you return to the track in time. And he's pressing on, so it looks like he's able to keep this lap going at the moment. Oh, through the S's, up and over the crest, onto the back straight. What is the time for Sector 1? It's up. It's a purple by just shy of a tenth. On board now with the Atlantic Motorsport number 27 into the inner loop. This is where it went wrong for him last time. Keeps it steady. Not much sliding going on this time. This may well be a detriment to him. Hugs that inside line. This is exactly what Kalasai, who's now down into 8th, our lad, wasn't doing earlier. So on to the short straight, through the cut through, down towards the penultimate turn. He's lost time as I thought he might, but oh, barely. He's still got the opportunity to steal that pole time as he's very deep again onto that penultimate turn, but still pressing on. Keeps it nice and steady, uses as much of the road as he dares. Through the final turn, can he take the top spot? All eyes to the clock. Not this time as a 12.355 just lost a little bit. It was an improvement in time, but not position for Rui Silva Valletta. There is Kalasai up to 4th. Well, the prophecy has proven true this time. It's because you made it. I said it last week and I was wrong. No, you said it, and you've the oracle that is the Goldsmith has has proven it correct this time.
Well, I mean, the main thing is that him being down in 7th, 8th position was rather uncustomary. So, I mean, effectively, what that means at the moment, Chris, okay, he could still pick up the victory. He could still lead the most laps. He could still get the fastest lap of the race. That might do enough to secure the title. However, we've got to keep an eye on what is Dean Vella going to do in this race. Dean Vella was in the top 5 in this qualifying session. So you have to try not to put 2 and 2 together and make 5. You've got to try and put 1 and 1 together and make 2. So quick maths for you people at home. Sorry. But Kalasai's got a lot of work to do. Okay, he could have been down on the outside of row 4, but he's on the outside of row 2. That gives him perfect striking distance and gives him the run through the 90, through the S's, down the back straight into the inner loop on lap 1. And if he gets that lightning start that we've seen all 3 races so far, I think the tide could turn and Kalasai could be the one that will really be able to get both hands on the trophy tonight That's it, and it's a fun race next week at Alton Park. But however, you and I don't both want that.
Well, there's another caveat to this as well. He may not want to be first up the hill. He will want to be in second. He'll want to be slipstreaming someone, not slipstreamed off of along that back straight. Very much like the Camel Straight in Spa. Being first is often a disadvantage on the opening lap because you've got no one to slipstream off of, and Kalasai may well be thinking of that as well. We will see. But, of course, the danger of starting with people around you is it's much more likely, or certainly you have a greater danger of being tagged, being involved in someone else's incident, or having to lose time by avoiding incidents and other people's mistakes. So it's not usually where we see David Kalasai, but like you say, plenty can still go wrong for everyone else around him. We will see. There's so much that this race is never ever won in turn one. I know most races are, but there's some races that you can think, okay, as long as I get through turn one, okay, I can maintain where I am. This isn't one of those races. This is going to be one of these, yeah, I need to survive, but all is not lost if I have a bad start. So yeah, I was looking forward to it before, but now that we have a new pole man and indeed, first row, it doesn't have David Kalasai in it. I mean, no disrespect to David Kalasai. He's proven his worth, umpteen times, not just in the wins, but how he's gone about it, the margin he's won by, the length of how much he's gotten pole by. I mean, no disrespect indeed to any of our drivers, because I know I couldn't do it. But it's just one of these things that you start to get used to them being at the front. Very much, Schumacher in the early 2000s, you expected him to be in the front. It doesn't take away from their achievements, but when they're not in that position, it adds another element of spice. Much like rain, that's always a very unknown. It's almost a leveler. So when you don't have the usual name at the front, really anything can happen.
I don't think Kalasai is going to have it all his own way tonight. I mean, okay, yes, I've sort of courted possibility of a commentator's curse, but as you well and eloquently put it, Mr. Buxton, a prophecy was fulfilled. I mean, the thing is that Kalasai has had really good pace, but we've also saw that last week at Portimao could have brought a different situation here at Watkins Glen. Dean Vella could have been even closer to him in terms of the championship standings. It's 61 points coming into this round. I mean, effectively, all Kalasai's got to do is to finish and finish well, and he's got the title. There's no way I don't think that anyone on the rest of the grid, no disrespect to anybody whatsoever, has that chance unless Kalasai has an absolute nightmare tonight. And it could happen. We both know that. Drivers currently on warm-up at the moment to get themselves ready for battle, but Chris, we look at it, Itmar Yativ has now been the second driver to secure a pole position this season. That is a telling point here at Watkins Glen. Kalasai was very, very matter-of-fact in the post-race interview after Portimao. He wasn't too sure about these next two tracks. Now we're going to find out how he rises to the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the only person that can essentially beat Kalasai is Kalasai. Is very much in his own hands to lose now. Again, that sounds like an obvious statement because of the points gap. True, but I fully agree with you that he's just proven himself that little bit more than what other drivers have been able to bring to the table so far. But again, I come back to what we were saying earlier, that we've raced it, probably the exception of Indianapolis. That's a very familiar track, but that layout isn't necessarily very familiar to everybody. We had Adria, we had in Indianapolis, and we had Portimao. So as I was saying before, those are tracks that in those layouts are not necessarily in the blood. You don't instinctivly know them. A Monza, a Silverstone, a Spa, those are tracks that any racing fan, whether with sim or real life racing, you instinctively know what they look like. And Watkins Glen is a bit more in that kind of mold. So as I thought earlier, we're seeing a bit of a change of the guard. We're seeing other drivers that maybe has you look at Itmar as a prime example that struggled with the lesser known tracks or had some kind of technical problem, but are now really rising to prominence and showing their worth. So it can still go either way. But if Kalasai has a retirement, then all bets are off. Then we go to Alton Park, one of the most difficult circuits to overtake on at speed, especially in single seaters. You're still with the championship in play. Yes, we'd all love that, but I think we're all racing fans at heart. We're still going to be an amazing race no matter which way the championship goes.
Oh, I just had a message from Casey Lagarde. He's going to give Kalasai a run for his money tonight. Well done, Casey. Good on you. That's what we like. Fighting spirit here at USF 2000. Let's see if we can go and head trackside now, because we're about to get under starters orders for round 4 of 5 of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship here at Watkins Glen. Goosebumps at the moment, Chris. Goosebumps. The hairs are standing on the back of my neck. I've nearly got palpitations at this particular moment in time. We're just waiting for them to grid up, but this is going to be epic.
Look at the wheel in Vasagar's car. He was given that plenty as he got to the grid. You're saying hairs on the back of your neck. I don't have many hairs left. I don't have many hairs left to stand up on end, but yeah, this is where the adrenaline really is pumping as we look at the sharper end of the grid. So there is Kalasai just spawned in. 4th position spot. Yeah, this the start is obviously going to be a big dictating feature, but there's so much that can happen with any of these drivers, and we saw someone's car smoking. So if someone gets that, especially if they get that inner loop section wrong in the midst of a pack, that's also something else to bear in mind, is that the mistake you're caught up in may not necessarily be your own. So anything can still happen. As Yativ is we saw this last time, didn't we? When he was very keen to get on with it, even on the warm-up lap.
Yeah, so Ismail Yativ leads the field around the Watkins Glen short course with the inner loop, and you can see the starting grid with David Kalasai rounding out the top 2 rows. So alongside Ismail Yativ will be Rui Silva Vieira. You can see that Stephen Johnson and Trev Sharp have been, the thing is that Russell and Johnson due to serve grid penalties this time around, but the top 4 will be as follows. It will be Itmar Yativ on pole position, Rui Silva Vieira on 2nd. Behind them will be the teammate of Itmar Yativ, that is Dean Vella, the 2nd highest placed driver in the championship with 51 points to his credit. David Kalasai comes into this round with a significant advantage. So it's Yativ, Silva Vieira, Vella, Kalasai, Jon Dix, Hans Hannes, Nicholas Vieira, Andy Birch. Then we got Casey Lagarde, Max Carrion, Vance Lagarde rounding out the top 11. Then it is Sharp in the number 10, Johnson and Russell. That is the 14 strong. So this is going to be rather interesting. We've got a 30-minute sprint race ahead of us. So this is where it all counts. We're waiting for everyone to be lining up on the grid. 2.45 miles here. It's a fantastic circuit, and Itmar Yativ will have to have his eyeballs on stalks when the lights go out and we go racing. And it's just about getting some brake and tyre temperature into those vehicles, and we will have a humdinger of a race here at Watkins Glen. The cars now start to assemble. Yativ on pole, Silva Vieira from Atlantic Motorsport alongside as we wait. Ready, set, ladies and gentlemen, we go. Racing here at Watkins Glen, and bad start from Rui Silva Vieira, and that compromised Kalasai, and that looks to be Jon Dix has gotten through, but Itmar Yativ has got the jump on everybody. Jon Dix already up to 3rd position and challenging Dean Vella. Third one, Casey Lagarde gets spun around, and that would be possibly by the sister Atlantic Motorsport car, but Itmar Yativ has gotten away into the distance. He's already got a 1.1 second gap between him and teammate Dean Vella, as Jon Dix and Nicolas Vieira closing on the Maltese ace. as they come through down the back straight as it's nearly two abreast. And who's going to get the run? Is it going to be Dix? Is it going to be Vella? As there's more dramas behind as Dean Vella sends it round the outside of Jorn Dix through the inner loop. That was fully committed as we got cars going off exit stage right through the inner loop. Oh my goodness me. Kalasai down in 5th position. But now it's Marjativ starting to sprint away.
That's a perfect start for Ismail Yassib as well. He's 1.4 ahead of everybody else. Wow, I mean, fair play to Jorn Dix, really trying to force the issue. And equally fair play to for Vella as well, to make that defensive move stick. That was very well driven. So we look at Darrell Russell in 11th with his teammate right on his tail that was Silva Vieira. It was Rui Silva Vieira that got caught up with Casey Lagarde going out of turn 1. As we look at Max Carrier now in 8th position. There's Johnson all the way up. Wow, he's gained well. He started on the back row, now up to 7th place with the misadventures of others. Hans Hannes in 6th position with David Kalasai. Yeah, he's lost 2 and gained 1 essentially in the opening rounds. But here we go. This is the slipstreaming effect. Whoa! That was that was Max Carrier getting very, very wide. Now the slipstreaming is kind of going on. There's Andy Bird trying to make a move, and he's got it done. Oh no, that's trouble though. As Max Carrion bounced off the apex, and there was a bit of front wing missing from Andy Bird's car.
You know what? Hans Hannes is closing hand over fist on David Kalasai. Kalasai really finding it's very much hot under the collar here at Watkins Glen. And as they say in the US, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Kalasai definitely in the throes of the lower part of the top 6, in the middle of it. But Yativ has nearly a 1.9 second advantage over teammate from GT Omega RPM Esports. Oh, and that's Vance and Casey Lagarde nearly coming together out of the final corner. And Vance goes to the right-hand side. Now, this is Silva Vieira. He's going nearly 3 abreast with Birch and carry it into the 90. Oh, take a bow. Ruiz, Silva Vieira, Darrell Russell battling away with Vance Lagarde. Casey just up ahead. Casey had qualified in P7, but it's Marjativ setting the fastest lap of the race. He is absolutely flying. Kalasai has work to do as Nicolas Vieira looking to go around the outside of Dean Vella. Is he going to make it through? No, not on this particular occasion. Is Kalasai? Oh, he's going absolutely aggressive and then some round the outside of Hans Hannes and Jorn Dix, but Jorn Dix still stays ahead, as does Hannes. Kalasai drops down again. 6th position is going to give him in terms of the points, and that's going to give him 8 points. And Dean Vella could close up a bit of a gap here. And at the end of it all, when you look at it, Kalasai, okay, looking at the past 3 races, he won by 18.6 seconds in the first race at Adria, 8.6 at Indianapolis, 6.4 at Portimao. As now you can see this slipstream fest here. I mean, the slipstream is royally activated. Who needs DRS in USF 2000 as they... Oh, Silva Vieira sends it up the inside as Vance Lagarde, who goes completely sideways, coming through the 90. Oh, my goodness. Well, that's Trev Sharp, who's made some moves up the order as well. So that's actually Darrell Russell, Silva Vieira's teammate. Silva Vieira on the front row. He's now closing on Steve Johnson, who's made his way up into 9th place. Hans Hannes battling away, and the Slipstream Fest really starting to show what is happening here. We thought we were going to have a humdinger. We've had a bit of a slobber knocker here. It's been hit well and truly out of left field here, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Kalasai is carrying damage from that horrific start that Dean Vella had from the...
it wasn't Dean Vella, it was Ruiz Silva Vieira.
Silva Vieira, yes. I beg your pardon. Yeah, he didn't get going at all, and David Kalasai slammed into the back of him. Now, he will no doubt be carrying damage, which is hindering him pretty badly. But this is just a royal scrap now for pure position. Oh, Jorn Dix caught that apex a little bit too hard, almost sent him off into Pennsylvania, as he hasn't managed to defend quite from David Kalasai. Lovely back shot from the Team Rocket.
Kalasai, that is absolutely Herculean. He's side by side now with Jon Dix. They're going to go down the back straightaway, pushing over 220 kilometres an hour into the inner loop. Oh, Jon Dix cuts off the front bumper. Well, not literally, figuratively speaking, of David Kalasai going through into the exit, into the outer loop. And Kalasai taking a wide line. He's trying to get the switchback. Do the old Nigel Mansell dummy, if you will. And look, they're literally front to rear wing. Kalasai looks towards the outside. That's not really good awareness if you want to be on the inside apex for the left-hander, but he's going to try and get the apex for the 90 right. Oh, Kalasai has to slot in behind Jon Dix, but again, coming out of the final corner, he's right hot on the heels of the number 14.
He is, but that's costing them time. They're a second behind Hans Hannes now as Kalasai has a look on the inside once again, coming down towards turn one. That damage is hampering him somewhat as they come through that banked first turn. That was really highlighted as Jon Dix was able to overcome the speed difference between the two cars on this back straight last time around. Here we go again. Look at the inset picture. Kalasai is gaining, but there he suddenly found himself without anywhere to use it, as he hasn't got that slipstream effect. As he's going to switch back to the inside. He's just trying to distract Jon Dix at this point. He knows he's not gaining on him. He's not losing a huge amount of time either, in fairness, but it's enough that it's forcing Kalasai to be in the midst of the pack. We haven't really seen this from the Mugen Sim Racing ace so far. Here we go on board with the 25 car. He's going to gain on the Team Schmoke in number 14. Now commits to the inside line. What he really wants is the inside for the final turn. And Jon Dix knows it. Nicely driven by both of them. And now advantage Team Schmoke in for the final turn. Kalasai, is he going to try and string around the outside? Which he does. He compromises the line of Jon Dix. Lovely racing between the two. Still side by side coming down towards turn one. If Kalasai is well, I was going to say if he is carrying damage, I suspect he is because he did clout the back of Rui Silva Vieira, who's up into 8th now, incidentally. Then that will be hurting him in a track like this. But in fairness, Jon Dix is doing a brilliant job of keeping the mighty Kalasai at bay. And wow, they're so close. And no impact between the two whatsoever. They're now 2 seconds behind Hans Hannes, you just seen go out of the shot. So it is costing them time, but it's provided some brilliant racing.
Yep, 21 minutes and 50 seconds to go in the penultimate round of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship with Alex Goldschmidt and Chris Buxton, your dedicated commentary duo for this series. Itmar Yativ leads Dean Vella by just over 2.1 seconds, as there is the number 26 from GT Omega RPM Esports making his way through into the right hand of the final corner here at the Watkins Glen International Short Circuit. Dean Vella trying to try and close the gap, but obviously with no slipstream assistance. It's not going to help the Maltese driver. Nicolas Vallella rounds out the top three, a further 9/10 off of Dean Vella. Hans Hannes, now looks like Sharp has been in the pits. That could be to do with damage repairing, because he's been sitting stationary for over 20 seconds. Hans Hannes rounding now. Oh,
that doesn't look happy.
That looks like some very, very misaligned lefts. Well, that looks like he's had a tyre change, possibly.
Could well be. It's difficult to know if the front wing's properly intact. Well, that's the driver. He doesn't seem very happy about it either.
Well, he's a bit like the Stig, devoid of emotion.
Devoid of emotion, indeed. I mean, watching the gap between the GT Omega pair up front, it is slowly coming down. So Dean Vella, I did wonder whether they were going to coordinate a swap round, because Dean Vella further ahead in the championship than Itmar is, and still in a running for the top spot. So they may coordinate a swap round a bit later on, but what they don't want to do is drag Nicolas Vallella along with them. Still plenty of fighting going on, even further down the field. There's Darrell Russell fending off Advance Lagarde for 12th spot at the moment, while still trying to keep up with Steve Johnson already ahead of them. There's 10 minutes gone, 20 to go. Still plenty that can go on here. I wouldn't be at all surprised if the top two swap round before the end of the day, or Dean Vella may just say, well, you've earned it, you have the win. Look at the gap, though, Kalasai to Hannes. That is now, what is that, 1.6 seconds between the two. That's how much time. Oh, and there goes Steve Johnson, a little bit deep into turn one. Darrell Russell's going to challenge him for it. Doesn't quite come off this time. Fair defence, though, from Steve Johnson. And
well, he's eastbound down. Well, there's definitely plenty of Americana references here this evening, obviously being that we are in Watkins Glen. Of course, that line made famous by Smokey and the Bandit with the link. Reynolds says, Johnson, Russell and Lagarde getting very, very up close and personal. You probably might need a bodyguard with a baseball bat to separate the three of them if they get any closer at all. But Johnson has a bit of a moment there as nearly touches the side pod of Vance Lagarde there to Stephen Johnson. Mamma mia!
Oh dear, that didn't go so well. And that's terminated it. And they're still having a set two there, it seems, but that's brought an end to Lagarde Senior and Steve Johnson's race. A great shame. Yep, Lagarde has recovered his car to the pit. I wouldn't be surprised if Steve Johnson parks that as well. Smokey and the Bandit was one of my favourite films when I was growing up. At one point, I could probably have dictated the script from top to bottom.
I still remember, because we no longer have the late Dom DeLuise and also Burt Reynolds. Now Casey Lagarde has a moment on the back straight away, and right up his rear exhaust tailpipes is Max Carrion in the 83. I still remember Dom DeLuise. Don't mention him. Dun, dun, dun. Captain Chaos.
Captain Chaos, indeed.
Yeah, but those were when films were really, really cool. You had the old Pontiac Trans Ams with the Phoenix on that. Now someone has been very, very wide, and I just spotted that is Jorn Dix, who was running P4, has dropped all the way down. He's had an off-track excursion, and he's pulled it into the pits. And that was coming through the penultimate corner. That was the left-hander. So Jorn Dix, I think he's tangled with the wall, and he's come in to possibly repair some damage, and that's a shame for him. What that does mean, that gives David Kalasai an increase in position up to 5th place. Well, he was actually ahead of Jorn Dix, so I wonder if Jorn Dix actually had a bit of overcommitment through that corner, and Jorn Dix is DNF'd, so I think that damage was terminal. We're down to 11, well, we're actually down to 12 runners and riders because Trev Sharp is still 3 laps off the leaders. But the biggest thing here, look at how much closer the GT Omega RPM Esports drivers are. About 5 minutes ago, the gap was 2.1 seconds. Itmar Yativ he's had clean air pretty much the whole time, Chris, but Dean Vella starting to hunt him down.
Either that, or as I suspect, they're actually going to coordinate a swap around. Here is what happened to Jorn Dix. Now the car looks like it's behaving itself perfectly well at the moment. Oh dear! I thought it was the right-hand side of the car that was damaged, which is odd considering that it's a clockwise circuit. But that's what happened. You just touched the grass on the outside, a momentary lapse of concentration, and into the wall he went. A great shame for Jorn Dix. He was having such a great race as well, but alas, that has all come undone. Yeah, Dean Vella is doing his best to at least keep tabs on Yatif, his teammate, up front. Like I said, I just got a hunch that they're going to coordinate a swap round. Now that they're quite some way, well, certainly comfortably ahead of Nicholas Valleja, I wouldn't be surprised if they swap round. I'm also keeping a very keen eye on Kalasai to Hannes. That gap has been dropping fairly consistently. Is now under a second, that battle for 5th, and there they are. Now that was some 2.5 seconds or so after Kalasai had finished having an argument with Jorn Dix. Very different story now.
Yeah, okay, right. Getting information from race control. Incident between drivers 85, that's Steve Johnson, and Vance Lagarde, number 71. Race director Adrian Figalo, an FIA accredited steward in his own right, is now typing a message to us here on commentary. So we'll get some information very, very soon. For the second race in a row, Steve Johnson, his penalty has gone up from a 2-position grid place penalty. As there's Kalasai. Let's keep with that for the minute. Johnson gets a 3-place grid penalty. Kalasai going for 3rd place. This is possibly the move that will decide the championship. As Kalasai, Oh, he nearly goes through. And you know what? This has
Wow.
changed everything. Nicholas Valleja has got a penalty. That will be for track limits. That means that David Kalasai, if he picks up third position at the end of this, that's going to give him 13 points. So he'll have a point for starting the race. He hasn't got the fastest lap. That'll put him on 126 points. Dean Vella currently at the moment, P2, 1.8 seconds off his teammate Itmar Yativ. He'll have 16 points at the end of this race. Kalasai, he is where he needs to be. No one now can challenge Kalasai unless something goes significantly wrong in the next 13 and 3/4 minutes. But we know the pedigree of David Kalasai. He has been the man to beat. Watkins Glen showed a chink in the armour as Nicholas Valleja is starting to drop out of the top 10. As now Kalasai senses the opportunity. Going onto the back straight. That damage has not slowed him down. He's absolutely got his elbows out. And he's already powered past Hans Hannes on the back straightaway into the inner loop. David Kalasai has the match point advantage right now with 13 minutes on the clock remaining here on round 4.
Certainly does. Hans Hannes' car has been all over the place. It's been an absolute bucking bronco, that thing, it looks like, just watching that from the offboard. But there is your teeth. That gap's gone back up again between the two GT Omega Race RPM Esports cars. I suspect that Dean Vella's made a mistake somewhere. And there it is. You can see Kalasai now in third position, exactly where he needs to be. Nicholas Valleja, though, after his drive-through, has he's managed to overtake. I'm sure he came out behind Carrion and Russell, so he's already managed to repass those two. And that's the last thing he would have needed. Silva Valleja, bearing in mind he was nearly last the end of lap 1, is now up to 6th position. But with his arch rival now back up into third, that will feel quite a distance indeed. Wow, we'll just see Max Carrion's car get very, very out of shape coming out of turn 1. Lovely back shot there, looking at the remaining Lagarde, and Max Carrion continuing their own little squabble. And my goodness, Nicholas Valleja is already building up with no slipstream assistance at all. Quite a comfortable, or comparatively comfortable gap to Casey Lagarde, as Casey defending the inside line coming into the loop perfectly well. But again, that just shows that Nicholas Valleja, with a bit more good luck, could well have been in the championship contention for a bit longer.
Yeah, very much the case. It's sort of been that peaks and trough argument, Chris, I would imagine, where there's been high points, there's been low points, and Nicholas Valleja has shown really, really good pace this season, but he just hasn't been as
I got
fancy
lively.
going to another county, do we there, Casey Lagarde? He said he was going to give Nicholas Kalasai a bit of a run for his money. Now he's got to try and do that on Nicholas Valleja. So at the moment, with 11 minutes on the clock, that's sideways and then some through the 90, courtesy of Nicholas Valleja. He runs wide, comes back onto the track, through now into the S's. That's going to give Casey Lagarde a little bit of impetus and a little bit of severe motivation to now close up. Tighter line taken by the 03 as they now head onto the back straightaway. Here's Dean Vella. Gap still just over 2 seconds between him and Itmar Yativ. As this race has been, Portimao last week was an absolute brilliant slugfest, but here it's like literally it's been like Dodgems.
Yeah, very different feel of race this time around. But that's the nature of the beast. It doesn't always stick to the script or stick to the plan. There is David Kalasai now free of challenge and in the fresh air. Maybe he can try and steal back that fastest lap, but I suspect if there is damage on that car, I think it'll be very, very difficult to do, even for him. But he presses on nonetheless. Hans Hannes isn't too far away, but it does look like that the 25 Mugen Sim Racing ace has got the pace over the 91 at the moment. We will see in the remaining 10 minutes of this race if Hans is able to close that back down. I think it would need a mistake, realistically speaking. Again, no disrespect meant to Hans at all. As Rui Silva Valleja now up into 5th position ahead of Andy Birch, who's trying to attack him back. coming into the inner loop, but does not commit to that particular move. I gotta say, Ruiz Silva Vieira, was Andy Birch because of his compromise line into the, or through, I should say, the inner loop, has kicked up a bit of dust on the outside. Ruiz Silva Vieira has done a brilliant job in his recovery drive through the field. What might have been for him is, Nicholas Vieira is out. That's a shame. So, we saw that he just served his penalty, but now you can see he's also a DNF in this race. Oh dear. We're talking about him needing some good luck, and that hasn't happened at all.
I think he definitely didn't have the luck at the blackjack table.
No, certainly not.
But Ruiz Silva Vieira, dropped all the way down to P10. He's been on the comeback trail as both he and Andy Birch go wide going through the 90. Now up this very, very deceptive. Now on the track map for Watkins Glen, very, very deceptive. But the ascent change is absolutely ginormous.
Brutal.
Is probably the same.
It's absolutely brutal.
Ginormous, there are so many different superlatives that you could probably put across that. But then, as you can now see, Ruiz Silva Vieira again whacking the curbs like nobody's business, whilst trying to keep away from Andy Birch. So with 8 minutes on the clock of the penultimate round of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship here, live and uninterrupted on eSports TV, motorsport.tv, TVM Sports in Malta. We're going to go into now. This is where we find out what happened with Nicholas Vieira. Oh, straight on. Oh no, straight on. And yeah, I see not just one, but two wheels missing off that wagon.
Yeah, that was very reminiscent of some kind of technical or brake failure or some. Well, maybe you forgot where the brake pedal was, but it seems a little unlikely. It's Andy Birch again, very, very wide, coming through turn one. Oh dear, what a shame. Well, Nicholas Vieira proving that barrier is solid, much to his team's irk, I would imagine. As we again look at Idmar Yatif, who has been absolutely unchallenged up front, unlike Casey Lagarde, who's still fending off the advances of Max Carrion. Up and over the S's, now onto the back straight. Opportunity now for Max Carrion. Well, as opportunity now, he's done this maneuver several times now. And again, on the back shot, you can just see Max doesn't commit to that inside line. It's very hard to commit to it, in fairness. You need to be, realistically, you need to have had the move done before you get to the braking zone. Going too wide into the inner loop is doable but dangerous. So I'm not surprised he backed out of that. But that battle has been raging on for quite a while and isn't showing any signs of dissipating.
No, and I think really going through the inner loop, I think Max Carrion wanted to avoid having a virtual change of underwear right there and then, especially if he'd got up close and personal with the tailpipes and also the rear tyres of Casey Lagarde's number 3 car, the brightly highlighter-esque. As I've already, that's going to be a running gag. If I see brightly coloured highlighters, I'll bring them out of my drawer at a moment's notice. That'll be the only thing that is rudimentary here on World Pro Racing, but I digress. But Casey Lagarde, he qualified really well. He's back to effectively where he started in the race just over 24 minutes ago. And to be honest, he was behind Carrion. He was behind Russell. And he's kept it on the defensive as now they're going down the back straightaway. So this time, is Carrion going to be fully committed? This time, they tangle and Carrion and Lagarde come together. Oh, it was not a case of if, Chris. It was a case of when was that going to happen?
Yeah, it did seem so. I mean, Carrion looked like he was sufficiently alongside to at least be warranted the space, but Darrell Russell says, yep, thank you very much. And Max Carey, just to add insult to injury, has been given that track limit penalty as well. Oh dear, unless Max Carrion was deemed to have been at fault for that incident. But, it looked like, I think Casey probably assumed that Max wasn't going to commit to that, but he was alongside enough to have at least been warranted the space. It seems so from that off-board perspective. The stewards will have a look at that and make the decision for themselves if they deem it necessary. But Darrell Russell now up into 8th position because of that impact. Will Max Carrion come into the pits this time? We can't quite see from that angle. I think he has. Yes, he has.
Yeah.
But he'll be serving that penalty, I would have thought. We'll see if the counter in the brackets starts to go up. That means he's stationary, so he may well just do the drive-through penalty and argue the rest post-event. But less than 5 minutes to go now. It's still in the hands of Idmar Yativ and David Kalasai. For what it's worth, he's closing in on the leaders, but I think it's even beyond him to close in that kind of gap before the checkered flag fall.
Definitely. I think at the end of the day, he just needs to bring that car home. Okay, right. We're on board with Max Carrion.
Oh. Difficult to tell from that.
From that, I mean, basically, if we had an aerial shot, that would be so, that would be easier to sort of get a better understanding of what happened. But, I think at the end of the day, Lagarde was fully committed. Carrion had already committed, and Casey Lagarde now gets a penalty. Well, one good shove deserves another, doesn't it?
That's probably a track limit one as well. As Max Carrion is out, so that damage proving terminal in the closing stage of the race probably wasn't going to be able to get that one repaired in time. So this is the view. That's a lap too early, I think. Yeah, because that's the lap before.
Well, actually, now that we come back to the track, Adrian Figalo, our race director, has now mentioned about incident 3 on 83. That is Lagarde
on
versus Carrion. So
see what the outcome of that is.
Yeah. And the thing is that here on World Pro Racing, we try and make things as close to real life as the number 3 takes a drive-through penalty for causing an avoidable collision. Yep. So not at all surprised about that.
No, I was going to say, I must say I do agree with that because, well, here it is again. So Max Carrion is committed and just, Katie gives no indication of room there, I'm afraid. So I would say that's fair. As much as Max is out, Casey Lagarde may feel aggrieved by that, but I would say that Max Carrion was sufficiently alongside to have at least been granted the space which Casey Lagarde didn't provide. I mean, he's not served it this time around, and there's going to be he's got one more opportunity after this, and he may opt to not serve it and argue afterwards. But from my personal opinion, I'd say that was a fair penalty, but. And that's the way the stewards have gone. But we'll see how that one transpires post-event if that doesn't get served.
Yeah, just over 2 minutes to go out of what has been a dramatic race here at Watkins Glen International here in the United States. Idmar Yativ will go on to what will effectively be the penultimate lap of this race. And we are very close to having the Kalasai streak broken. But Dean Vella in second. There is David Kalasai. He is 2 laps away from provisionally being crowned our inaugural USF 2000 Series champion here. 3 straight victories, 3 straight pole positions, and the last 2 races at Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve in Portimao last week showed that he was a class above the rest as he makes his way down the back straightaway, 6.5 seconds behind Dean Vella. So I've just seen that Casey Lagarde now serving his penalty, so that will be a drive-through. Drive-through takes approximately about 21 seconds here. Yellow in sector 3. But Kalasai, despite the dramas with Ruiz Silva Vallera, now Lagarde is stationary. And that does not bode well for the number 3 from Matrix Motorsport.
He may well have just decided to park the car. I mean, Sharp can't unlap himself from Casey Lagarde, so he's only going to lose that position. There it is to Stephen Johnson. As Idmar Yativ has started the final lap, and there is Mr. Johnson getting out of the way. I did wonder for a moment, remembering back to last week where David Kalasai caught up with the back market in the final lap, and I knew that the GT Omega pair were gaining on another penalty for Casey Lagarde as he's come back out on track. He's getting his name a lot of airtime, if not his car. Which is something.
Unless I'm showing the highlighter in the same screen as well. But let's concentrate on our leader. Idmar Yativ broke the David Kalasai pole position streak to make it 2 different winners out of the 4 races so far. He has now made his way towards the penultimate corner, the left-hander here, And then one more corner remains. Itmar Yativ from GT Omega RPM Esports will lead home a 1-2 courtesy of teammate Dean Vella. But we wait with bated breath, with anticipation as Yativ takes the checkered. Vella across the line, and provisionally your USF 2000 Series champion David Kalasai from Mugen Sim Racing, who rounds out the top 3.
What an incredible race. There's been 4 retirements from the competitors we've seen. And well, people even still going over the grass. Darrell Russell is in trouble. I think it's fair to say he wouldn't have finished the race just yet. Has he run out of fuel? That looks at what that looks like to me. You are not going to coast home from there, I'm afraid. So
That's on fumes.
Yep. That's, trouble for Russell on the final. What was looking like, going to be his best finish of, actually it still will be because Johnson is a lap down, so Steve Johnson's already crossed the line. So Darrell Russell can only finish in 7th position now, but drama for him, even on the final lap. But wow, you cannot take it away from both Yativ and Vella. They did exactly what they needed to do to bring home the 1-2. But David Kalasai from thumping the back of Ruiz Silva Vieira in that opening foray, and then just fighting his way back up into a podium position. Ruiz Silva Vieira as well. He's my driver of the day if we were giving out such a thing. Yeah, falling down to nearly last and then coming home in 5th place. We saw some great racing once again. Some interesting moments as well in Watkins Glen. But yeah, wow, what a great penultimate round we've had. And Yatif is so keen to carry on. He's missed the pit lane entrance, having to wait.
David Kalasai's front nose cone is actually in his left side pod.
It was, yeah.
I mean, oh look,
Darrell's been pushed home
by his teammate.
They got disqualified. That'll be in. Yeah, that's probably penalties. What a way to finish, though. Oh goodness me! But wow, what a race we've seen from the competitors throughout the field. It wasn't just the top part of the grid that was giving us some amazing racing. Once again, a very memorable race, and but again, it's good to crown a new race winner, and I look forward to speak to him.
Well, actually, let's speak to the man in 3rd position who has provisionally secured the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship. Mugen Sim Racing's David Kalasai. David, a very difficult qualifying session, no pole position, but you fought. That was a champion's drive. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. I'm pretty happy with that podium and with that title.
Now, obviously, David, we spoke at length at Portimao that you said it was not going to be easy here at Watkins Glen. Qualifying showed that. The start line moment where you had Ruiz Silva Vieira in front of you, and he had a difficult start off the line. It pushed you down the order, but you fought your way through. Talk through about your race with us.
Yeah, the start was so chaotic for me because I was a bit frozen, and it was I believe very avoidable contact. And after the start, I had a pretty good battle with Dix and Hanus, and that's what I enjoy in racing.
So did we. We enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
David, got one final question before we let you go off and enjoy your evening. Next week, Oulton Park, the season finale. The pressure is off. You looking forward to the challenge of a fantastic circuit in Cheshire?
I really like the track, that Oulton Park, sorry. And I wouldn't say that will be a fun race because I want to finish in a good position, and gain good uh, position. Yeah. And
Well, Dave, yeah. Is there anybody that you would like to thank, David? Because you've done a fantastic job after what has happened this season.
yeah, I would like to thank for the Mugen guys for making me that livery for the season. I really like that, and inside the team, special thanks for Adam Serage and Gergő Balog, who made me that livery.
Well, David, enjoy the rest of your evening. Well done. Congratulations. We'll see you at the season finale next Wednesday at Alton Park.
Thank you very much.
Chris, time to hand over to you. Let's head to our second place driver, GT Omega RPM Esports Racing's very own Dean Vella.
Dean, are you with us?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening to you. Well, it seemed a comparatively leisurely race for you. You and Edmar did a brilliant job. You're breaking away from the pack in the early stages, and then you just kind of ran your own thing early on. Was it that easy for you? Was there much more to it than what we saw?
Definitely, it was a bit more leisurely, exactly, compared to previous races. But I still had pressure. So it still was pretty intense.
Now, I did wonder early on whether you and Idmar would swap round because of where you were in the championship position. Were you in a position to, was there any talk of, team orders, or were you ever in a position where you thought you could challenge Itamar, or was it just a case of holding station where you were?
We discussed, the situation really, but it doesn't feel right if I don't win on my own merit. So I said I'd rather stay where I am and try and gain and overtake Itamar with kind of my own pace and skill really.
That's very honourable and fair play to you indeed. Is there any shout outs or any dedications you wish to make?
To the whole team and the sponsors, like always. So we have GT Omega Racing, Gaming Malt, and HyperX, and very happy that we got a 1-2. So yeah.
And what are your thoughts towards Alton Park next week?
Never actually drove the circuit actually, but still excited. Hopefully to get at least one win in this series. Hopefully next week.
Best of luck for that one. Thank you very much, Dean Vella.
Thank you.
Okay. Last interview of the evening before we close things out here on World Pro Racing. He's broken the winning streak of David Kalasai and brings home a 1-2 for GT Omega RPM Esports. Itamar Yativ. Itamar, well done. Congratulations. Pole position by just over a tenth. And you led from lights out to checkered flag. You must be feeling over the moon right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with all the problems I had in the first 3 races of the season.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of technical problems that ruined my chances to do the races. But yeah, absolutely happy for the team. I actually asked Dean to give him the place. I wanted him to win, but he refused.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Now that's a revelation here tonight. You heard it from Dean, and now we hear it from the different side from Itamar. But I think Dean was very, very honest, and he said that. Yeah. If he wanted to win the race, to do it on his own merit, and that is the sign of a true racer. And I know for a fact that if you were in the same position, you would say exactly the same thing. Am I right?
Yes, I would give him any chance to win. Yes, absolutely.
Well,
but that's a team race now, and I had no chance to win. So the championship, I mean. So I did wanted him to win and have more points.
Well, at least we'll find out next week at Alton Park. Itamar, are there any shout-outs or dedications you'd like to send out this evening?
Yeah, absolutely. First, the teams and our management, absolutely awesome. All our sponsors and their absolute crazy gear like HyperX, GT Omega Racing, Gaming Malta, absolutely fabulous. And one last thing, here in Israel, we are doing the Holocaust Day today. It's not just Jews that got all the problems, a lot of people got in a lot of nations. So that's win is for the Holocaust people.
Very, very fitting tribute there. Really do appreciate it, Itamar, and thank you very much. Congratulations for tonight. Good luck next week at Alton Park.
Thank you.
Well, Chris, 2 different winners out of 4 races. The gloves go off next week at Alton Park, and I can't wait.
You and me both, good sir. It's going to be fantastic to see how well our competitors handle the very tight and twisty Alton Park. Again, it's a wonderful track to drive, but it's very, very unforgiving. So very much look forward to that, and it's going to be a great way to round out a great season.
Well, before we close things out, just a couple of minutes of reminders. Don't forget to follow us on all relevant social media. Head to worldproracing.com for the latest news, events that you can join, whether it be on PS4, PC, on platforms such as Assetto Corsa Competizioni, Gran Turismo Sport, R Factor 2, and so much more. We've got plenty of coverage over the next couple of days. This Friday, German Fest, BMWs at the Nürburgring, and then the 226 kilometres of the Nürburgring itself the following night. Myself and Chris will be back for the season finale of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship, which takes place in Little Budworth in Cheshire at the good old Alton Park. And also, stay tuned on our website and social medias for something coming soon. You're going to love it. It's going to be epic. That's it from us here tonight. A big thank you once again to all our sponsors, AMD, HyperX, GT Omega Racing, Thrustmaster, and Gaming Malta. And a big thank you to you all watching over in Malta on TVM Sport, our viewers on motorsport.tv and esports television. A big thank you to those that have been watching on the World Pro Racing Facebook, Twitch and YouTube streams this evening. And if you are watching on YouTube, I hope, or we hope, that you've given it a thumbs up, a subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That's it from me, Alex Goldschmidt, and my comrade in arms, Chris Buxton. Thank you for joining us. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. We'll see you next week for the season finale. Good night.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.